Get it? All right. Shalom. Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. Book of thumb to the brothers. Shalom. Yahweh Shema Alathan by Hashem Yahushua to the sisters. With the Israelite School, Universal Practical Knowledge. Started at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General Yohana. We're not affiliated with any other Israelite group nor any other Christian organization. This is a preaching office of 1,000 Yahweh Shema for the Isupk. Alright, so today's lesson we're going to talk about leaders. Today we're going to talk about leaders and how it is to rule over Israel as a king, having one Lord. Alright. Alright, so it's throughout the Bible, man. Alright. So it's throughout the Bible for blacks. So if you are tuning into class for the first time, so-called blacks, Hispanic, and Native Indians, we are God's chosen people. We are the children of Israel. Alright. According to the scripture, we are God's chosen people and we are the children of Israel. And because of so, we have certain rules and regulations that we have to live by. There's a moral code that we have to live by. There's a certain standard that we have to live by. And because of so, there are certain ways we have to do to rule our people. Alright. And we're going to talk about the history behind leaders in the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian community. We're going to talk about leaders and how a nation is supposed to be ruled, right? Having one Lord. Like, we're going to talk about that because it's history. Today, this month is what? This month is Black history. This month is about Black culture. This month is supposed to be about Black heritage. You know what I'm saying? This culture is about Black traditions. But how? So guess what? We are going to go into the Bible, which is a Black historic book. Alright? We're going to go into the Bible and we're going to learn how much of a Black history book it is. And we're actually going to study real Black traditions. We're going to study real Black culture. We're actually going to study real Black heritage. And so with that being said, right, what we also got to understand is that we were never, we were never supposed to, let's make something clear, right? We're going to focus on, like I said, leaders and how to rule a nation, right? It was never a Black tradition to go and vote. In Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian culture, right? In so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian culture, we were never supposed to vote. We were never supposed to stand in voting lines for hours and hours out, for a time, right? Hours and hours and hours of time, right? We were never supposed we were never supposed to do that. That was not our culture. That's not what that's something we were not supposed to do. It was never the case. But because we are in America, and because we were slaves in America, and because we took the tradition of another race of people, we took the traditions of another race of people, we took the traditions of another nation of people. That's the reason why we stand in voting lines to choose a leader. It was never black tradition and black culture or black heritage to stand in voting lines hour after hour to choose who is going to be our leader, who is going to do the most for us, who is going to be about the black community, who is going to be about the Hispanic community, who is going to save the Native Indians on the reservations from alcoholism and drug abuse. Who's going to do that for the Native Indians on the reservations? Who's going to take the tribal governments off the reservations who are putting laws into place to completely oppress Native Indian people? Who is going to do it? This is the reason why we go into voting lines. We go and vote so we can make our lives better. This is why blacks, Hispanics, we took a culture, right, from another society, from another nation of people, and another race of people to try to make our lives better in America. Because we live in so much hell in America, because we had so much abuse in America, because we went through so much terrible, terrible suffering in America, we are trying to make it better. We are trying to find ways to make our life better. I pray you understand. We're trying to find ways to make our life better. And so we chose to take a tradition of voting and putting a leader into a position to rule over us to make our life better. Ironically, it's a leader from the very same nation, from the very same race of people that's putting us through the hell that we go through. That's putting us through the suffering that we go through. I hope you understand. I pray that you understand. Like this is what we're doing. We may not realize what we're doing, but it's absolutely idiotic. It's absolutely crazy that we're going to vote for the very same people. Like we're going to vote for the very same people to rule over us that put us through the very same hell we go through every single day. It's 2021 right now. It is the year of 2021, quote unquote. It's the year 2021. And nothing has changed for the black, Hispanic, and Native Indian community. Nothing has changed in the ghetto. Nothing has changed in the hood. Nothing has changed in Hampton, Virginia. Nothing has changed in Norfolk. Nothing has changed in Newport News for black people. Nothing has changed in Virginia Beach for black people. Nothing in Chesapeake has changed for black people. Nothing in Suffolk has changed for black people. Hampton, Newport News, Port Smith, Norfolk, you name it. Nothing has changed for black people. In the 7 cities in the Hampton Roads area, nothing has changed for black people. And it's now year 2021. Because we think taking the tradition of another nation and another race of people is going to fix us. We truly believe that. So we're going to get Ephesians. So anyone tuning in the class today, let's get Ephesians chapter 4. All right. Let's get we're going to get Ephesians chapter 4 verse 4. Right? Like this is what we have to understand, right? Like this is what, okay, let me see. All right. So make sure. So we're going to get Ephesians chapter 4, verse 4. All right. Okay. Now, when we're going to get Ephesians, right? We're going to talk about how. Okay, this is Paul. This is Apostle Paul, right? A believer of Christ. All right, and he's talking to the saints that are in Ephesians. He is talking to the children of Israel, the Israelites that are in the land of Ephesians. And he's trying to make them understand what it means to be a school and what it means to be a nation and what it means to be a body of people. Like, we have to understand, in America, America has formed their government to be one, which is the Constitution. America united all of America, not just by warfare, not just by tactics and all that stuff, not just by slavery, but by the Constitution. They all are under the same law. They're all under the same authority. They all believe in the very same thing, which is their Constitution, which is within their country and their laws, right? They truly believe in their founding fathers and their forefathers. So Paul is talking to the children of Israel. Like, this is the Most High talking to the children of Israel, right? Through Apostle Paul, right? The leader that the Lord raised up to go to the Gentiles, which were Israelites that did not have the law, that were Israelites that didn't know about the culture and the heritage and the traditions of Israelites. That's who the Gentiles were, and that's who Paul went to, right? And so with that being said, this is Paul, and he's trying to explain to blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians, which was something that should have been taught and spoken to, right, by our leaders, right? This is something that should have been told to us by our leaders in America on how we should do things as so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians, by the children, who are the children of Israel. That's something we should have been taught. This is something that we should have been told. You understand? This is so let's go to Ephesians chapter 4, verse 4. So Ephesians chapter 4, verse 4. There is one body. So the Lord said there is one body. It didn't say two. It didn't say three. It didn't say four. Like, you got to understand, in America, right? America established one body. Like people, okay, once again, it's Black History Month. Anyone online paying attention in line, right? Anyone paying attention in class online right now, how many thought that the Civil War was about the abolishment and the ending of slavery? How many believe that? I'm not asking you, do you believe it now, but I'm asking you, how many of you believed online? How many of you believed that the Civil War was about ending slavery and the abolishment in slavery? Even in class, let me know. Like, sis, did you believe that the Civil War was about the ending of slavery and the abolishment of slavery? Right. A lot of so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians believe that the Civil War was about the abolishment and the ending of slavery. Well, guess what? The Civil War... Go ahead.
That's just like how... Like, I don't know. Like, when I was going to school, that's
right.
just how they presented it to us in history class. Like, Black History Month is because of... Black History Month is because... because we became free. And because we became free, and then everything that every black person did, even during slavery and after slavery. But it's crazy because there's never none of the stuff that we talk about, like in our textbooks and things like that. It's not really in our things like that, which is funny and like it's kind of weird
right.
to me, And I feel like that's probably why we have Martin Luther King Day as well too, because he led slavery and he led the Civil War, and I don't know, he led civil rights and people to come together, which really he didn't do anything, because look at how our world is now done.
Right. And now, so what the sister is saying is absolutely correct and absolutely right. In school, by the way, if you did not know this, on a sidebar, in the state of Virginia, and as far as I know, in the state of Virginia, they have taken history out of the curriculum. I'll say that one more time. In the state of Virginia, they took history out of the curriculum. The very state that has the majority of the history of America, they took history, right? They took the history out of the curriculum in the state of Virginia. Now, in history, right? In history class, when you're in school, you were probably taught that the civil rights, the Civil War was about the abolishment and the ending of slavery. But the Civil War had nothing to do with the abolishment and the ending of slavery at all. It dealt with making America one again, right? Like, have you ever heard of the saying, a nation divided cannot stand? Right? Like, a nation divided cannot stand. Or a house divided cannot stand. This is in the Bible. A house divided cannot stand. That's very true. Because if the house is divided, how can it be an actual home? If you're not on the same accord, you guys will be in constant battle with each other. So when America was fighting each other, it was the South against the North. I believe it was the Confederate versus the, oh man, what was the other side called? It wasn't just called the North. It was an actual name for them. So at the end of the day, they had a name. It was the Confederate. I want to say the Republic so bad, but that's not it. It was, oh man, it's going to eat me alive. But they were going against the North, right? And it was the Confederate against the North, and they were fighting against each other, right? Because the South believed, or the Confederate believed, because the majority of the slaves were in the South, we should have more control of the power in America. We should have more say-so of the things that's going on in America, because we have all the money. We have the power. We have all the economic wealth of America. So because of our status, right? I'm speaking as if I was a Confederate. Because of our status, we should have more of our control. Go ahead. The Union, the water so much. The Union, it was the Confederate against the Union. So the Confederate thought, right, because we have most of the wealth, we should have more of the power. But the Union was thinking, nah, that's not how it is. Even though you have the majority of the economic wealth, and you do have slaves that generate the economic wealth of America. I'll say that one more time. Because you have the majority, because you have slaves, is why you have the majority of the economic wealth in America. If you did not know, slavery was the economy of America. If there were no slaves, there would be no economy in America. If there were no slaves in America, there would be no economy in America. There would be no economic structure in America. I'll say this one more time. If there were no slaves in America, there would be no economy in America. The reason why I say that is because it's still the same today. if it wasn't for Negroes and Latinos and Native Indians, niggas, spicks, and wetbacks working at McDonald's and Burger King and working the farms and being the construction workers throughout the entire goddamn country of America, there would be no economy. The reason why Trump is so rich is because we made him rich. You understand? The reason why Dunkin' Donuts is Dunkin' Donuts is because we make them rich. You know why the East Indians own all the damn near Dunkin' Donuts and all the 7-Elevens in the ghetto? We make them rich. You know why Wawa is so rich? It's because we make them rich. We get our coffee there. We get our donuts, our sandwiches, all the above. If it wasn't for blacks, Hispanic, and Native Indians in America, there would be no economy in America. So the Confederate was fighting against the Union for so. And the Union was trying to get the Confederate to understand, we are still one nation. We are one body. You understand? This is why we say the Pledge of Allegiance. One nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all. Whatever the hell it is, right? I think that's maybe the majority of it. That's pretty much it. But to understand it, they said one nation. Well, guess what? One body, right, is what America wanted. Well, guess what? The Lord wanted so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians to be under one body, right? That one body is referring to the nation of Israel, right? And Salaki, I take that back. I don't want you to be confused by that, right? Because fake Israelites say that, and it confuses blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. That one body is supposed to be the government structure that the Lord set up for the nation of Israel, right? There's a government that the Lord wants Israelites to be under. Like, this isn't, like, people think the Bible is some book about myths and magic and it's just a bunch of stories that may be good for life lessons and all this nonsense. No. The Lord wanted to set up a government for so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians to live under. Like, we need authority. We need order. We need law in our lives. The reason why we're suffering in the ghetto and we're suffering in the hood and we're suffering in Hampton and we're suffering in Norfolk and Newport News and Chesapeake, because we have no order. We have no law. We have no authority. Well, guess what? The Lord set up an authority and a government power to rule over blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. And that's the Isupk. We're not your Christian pastor. We're not here for your money. Forget your money. I can't say what I want to say because it was an order given by Jeremiah Hyman that we should work on our cussing. But forget your money. I don't give a darn about your money. I can care less about your money. We don't need it. If you want to keep the law, pay your tithes. But keep your money. We don't want it. We don't need it. We're just trying to rule over blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians to give law to our people because that's what we need. Listen, the majority of so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians believe that we can't be judged. Why do I say that? What's the main thing that blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians say to each other when we want to say something about them that's quote-unquote negative or that deals with correction? What do they say? Does anybody know? What about you? Sis? What do they say? What do black people say when you try to tell them something that they're doing wrong or you should change this about yourself? What do they say to you? Can anybody tell me online? Even you can tell me online, and you should also tell me if you know that. What do they say? And think about what I'm talking about. We're here to give blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians law and order, right? So what do black people say when we try to give them law and order, meaning tell them what they're doing wrong and tell them what they should be doing? What do they say? Like when we say you can't eat pork, man. You can't be no homosexual. You can't be no lesbian, right? You can't be out here doing what you want. You can be out here living your best life. You can't have male best friends. You can't be out here being a whore or a prostitute. You can't be out here pimping out hoes and pimping out our daughters like some pimp, being a whoremonger. What do they say to you?
You don't control me, or you don't tell me what to do?
No.
Okay.
Not. Listen, you're on to it, but think about law and order, not the show. Actually think about the show if it helps you. Law and order. Right? Law. Okay, if anyone knows the show about Law and Order, when it pops up, it has the law in red. I think the order in blue. I can have it vice versa, whatever. Right? But what does it have? It has the scale, right? It has that law scale, right? It has the scale. What does that deal with? So what do Christians tell you when you tell them not to do something? What do they say? Think law and order. You guys are going to hate yourselves if I give you the answer. I don't want you guys to hate yourselves. You understand? You can't read my mind, read my thoughts. Anybody online? Want to give it another shot? I give you guys a few. The sister's right. Judge. You can't judge me. Right? You can't judge me. These are what Christians say. This is what blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians say when we're trying to give them law and give them order. The Lord set up a government structure to have authority over you. And not just any type of authority, but righteous authority. Just authority. Understand? Like our authority is just, which literally means righteous. Look it up. I'm using these words purposely. Look up the definition of just, and you'll find the word righteousness. You would find the word righteous. You would find the words legally correct. When you have righteous authority over you, everything will be judged just. It would be legally correct. It would be a just way of judging. Right? You would have a righteous authority over you. But because because we choose to be Christian and Muslim and Buddhist and 5%ers and whores and escorts and prostitutes and pimps and whoremongers and Bloods and Crips and gangster disciples, because we choose to do this instead, we go out and vote for another government body to be over us and another authority to be over us. And when that happens, nothing gets fixed in our community. Everything goes straight to hell. Nothing gets judged properly. There's so much injustice in the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian community because we continue to choose another government body to rule over us, another authority to rule over us. And that's why there's so much injustice happening in the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian community. So the Lord says, what? Go ahead, ask your question.
I read a question. I don't know, maybe I might be wrong, but like, I have never seen anyone, because you know how the presidents have like those like big things when they get everybody to come see them, those speeches and things like that.
Inauguration.
Yeah, and then they have people that's asking them questions, or they go on the news and they have people asking them questions and things like that, like CNN and things like that. I have never heard anyone ever ask a president what they would do for our community.
Right.
Which is dumb.
And those questions will rarely.
That should be really important.
Right. And those questions are going to rarely be asked because that's not their priority. Their government and their authority is set up for their people. That's why they have their constitution. But in our body, when the Lord says there is one body, that's our government. That's our authority that the Lord raised up, which is the ISUPK, to rule over blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. To give blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians law and order. That's who the Lord set up. He didn't set up your Christian pastor. He didn't set up that Christian church. He didn't set up that Muslim mosque. He didn't set up Martin Luther King. He didn't set up Elijah Muhammad. He didn't set up Malcolm X. He didn't set up Marcus Garvey. He didn't set up he didn't set up Al Sharpton. He didn't set up Jesse Jackson. He didn't set up Ben Carson. That's over the urban communities in America, which is the ghetto, which is the hood, which is the communities that blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians live in. He didn't set those men up. But he did set up the ISUPK under commanding General Yana. That's who the Lord did set up. Right? Then the Lord says, and one spirit. Meaning we should be all on the same accord, having one spirit. Our spirit should be the same. We shouldn't be different. We should be the same. Like, once again, if you truly believe that America is not in the same spirit, God forbid. Does anybody know? This is how you know that America is under the same spirit as everyone else in America. Right? Okay, how can I ask this question? What's the main religion in America? What's the top religion in America? Christianity is the top religion in America. What religion is your Democrats?
Christian.
What is the religion of your Republicans?
Christian.
What is the religion of them Proud Boys?
Christian.
What is the religion of those police officers?
Christian.
They are in the same spirit. And that spirit is to murder.
Christian.
No,
not Christian. Murder blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians.
There you go. That's literally the spirit of America. Is to be Christian, and to be Christian is the murder and the injustice towards blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. How do I know? Because even your Christian pastors hate you. All they do is take your money and let you live poor in the ghetto. While they're making hundreds and thousands of dollars, you are still starving in the ghetto and wondering when's rent going to be paid. While you're giving all your money to your Christian pastor, you're wondering how are you going to feed your kids at night because you don't get food stamps until 3 weeks from now. This is how I know your Christian pastor hates you. This is how I know this is the spirit of Christianity. It's to hate blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. That's not love. That's the same spirit of America. Your Christian pastors they allow you to be murdered in the ghetto. They allow you to be murdered in Norfolk and Portsmouth and Newport News. They allow the violence in the black community. They allow it. You know why? Because they don't do nothing. They don't teach you what to do. They don't teach you that, hey, God said not to be a blood or a crip. Why are you murdering each other? You know what they do? They just take your money and say, guess what? It's going to be a better day. Today's a new day. That's what they tell you. What they say in that Kirk Franklin song, today's a new day? That's what your pastor tells you. Today's a new day. Don't worry about it, brother. Don't worry about it, sister. Today's a new day. Guess what? Today's a new day that your son probably is going to be murdered like Tamir Rice. Today's a new day that your son probably is going to be murdered and gunned down by some neighborhood patrol by a man named Mark Zimmerman who gunned down and murdered Trayvon Martin. Today's a new day. That's what today is going to be about. Today's a new day that you're going to see your father on the news, right? As a little girl, you're going to watch your father on the news have a knee on his back by a police officer saying, I can't breathe like George Floyd. That's what's going to happen. Today's a new day. Don't you worry about it. The door? I'll go check. Like that's what's going to happen. It's a lucky for security reasons. So lucky. But yes, like this is what your Christian pastor tells you, man. Like this is going to be today's a new day. Like that's what your pastor tells you. Right? Just to make you feel good. So when the next murder happens, you can just say in your head, today's a new day. When you wake up the next morning, you know what, today's a new day. Just maybe America isn't going to murder us. Just maybe the police department isn't going to terrorize the black community like they did yesterday. Just maybe today the police department isn't going to terrorize so-called black, Hispanic, and Native Indian brothers and sisters in the ghetto like they did yesterday, because today's a new day. That's what your pastor tells you. Today's a new day. Like Kirk Franklin tells you, today's a new day. Marvin Sapp is going to tell you today's a new day. Hezekiah Walker is going to tell you today's a new day. Like these are Christian pastors, even though these are Christian artists too, and singers and make music. These are your Christian pastors. This is the spirit of your Christian pastors. That's the spirit of Christianity. And the Lord said one spirit. Like when you're in a government body, when you have a government body, that's what the body is the government and the authority that's supposed to rule over blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians that the Lord set up. And it's supposed to be one body and one spirit. We're supposed to be on the same accord. Just like America is in the same accord to terrorize so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians, the Isupk, the government body, we're supposed to be in one accord to rule over the nation of Israel, to rule over so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians, which are the Israelites according to the Bible. Right? That's our spirit. We're supposed to put on that spirit to teach the law, to give law and order. That's the spirit. And not just any law, but God's law. Like that's what makes our law so different from anybody else. Like every other nation has their own laws in their own order. Like any other nation out there has their own laws and order. America has their own laws and order. China has their own laws and order. Russia has their own laws and order. Britain and England, they have in France, they have their own laws and order. Well, guess what? Israel had their own law and order. And what makes it different than any other nation and race of people? Our law was given by God. Our law wasn't created by man. Our law wasn't created by man like America, which is the Constitution. Right? Like our law wasn't made like the Russians and the England by man. But our law was given by God, and that's what makes it so special. That's what makes it so great. That's what makes it so, read my mind, read my thoughts, perfect. That's what makes it perfect. Verse 5. One Lord. So listen, the guys that said one Lord. Does anybody know what a Lord is? Does anybody online, anyone paying attention? Can anybody tell me what a Lord is? What is a Lord?
Someone who rules.
Someone who what?
Someone who rules.
Someone who what?
Someone who rules.
The sister's absolutely right. Someone who rules. That's who a Lord is. A Lord is someone in authority. Right? Listen, how crazy is this, man? Like, it's bizarre. So a Lord, right, Adawan in the Hebrew, right, is someone in authority, someone in a position of rulership, right, someone with authority. And God just said, right, in verse 5, one Lord. We are supposed to only have one person ruling over us. So why are there different Christian pastors? I'm going to continue, right? And the Lord says one faith, right? Meaning the same belief, right? In one faith. Meaning we should be having the same faith in everything. Like our faith shouldn't be different. How are we going to have different type of leaders that believe in different things? We have black leaders that believe we should be a Republican. We have Salakia, I'm going to use the word being used. We have lords that believe we should be Republican. We have lords that believe we should be Democrat. We have lords that believe we should be what? Baptist. We have lords that believe we should be what? Methodist. We have lords that believe we should be Pentecostal. We have lords that believe that we should be Seventh-day Adventist. We have lords that believe that we should be Jewish. We have following under Judaism. We have lords that believe we should be Muslim. We have lords that believe that we should be Egyptologists. We have lords that believe that we should be 5%ers. Bloods, Crips, Gangster Disciples. These are all lords. These are all people that have authority, that lead over black people, that have led us astray. Right? And I can go on and on and on. We have lords that believe that we should have integrated. We had a Lord that had a dream. I have a dream and I have a dream. And he believed that we should have been integrated. We had lords that believed that we shouldn't have been separate. And we should have been mingled together. That's what we had lords that believed in that. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? We had lords that believed that we shouldn't have been separate. And believed that we should have been mingled with everyone else. That's crazy. We had lords like that. We had lords to make us believe that it was okay to circle a rock 7 times and make love to it, while everyone else's spit and saliva has been on it already. We have lords that teach us it's okay to smoke weed and get high and pass the blunt through 5, 6 different people. Who knows where their mouths been? We have lords that teach us and believe in that. Like, another thing too with these fake Israelite groups that believe that they're lords, and they scatter our people in teaching them things that we're not the same faith. Who are you? What faith are you teaching? Like, guess what? Like, the Lord said we're supposed to be in one faith, right? The Isupk was established in 1969. Any other fake Israelite camp ever that's been out there came after 1969. So clearly you are not obeying the one body. You are clearly not obeying the one spirit. Right? Like the Lord says in Ephesians chapter 4 verse 4, there is one body and one spirit, even as ye are called in one hope of your calling. Of your calling. That you're called to do this. You are called to do this. You are chosen by God to do this. This is your calling. This is who the Lord raised up to do it. He didn't raise up you. One Lord, one faith, one baptism. This is in the Bible. It says one baptism. One baptism. Now, this is going to hurt some of y'all feelings. The Lord said that as a nation of people, we should have one government, one leader, and believe in the same thing, including the baptism, including our baptism. Do you know what America's baptism is?
Water, like going in like are you talking about like the Christian way? Like,
no, I'm referring to America. I'll get to the Christian way second,
okay.
But let's focus on America. Do you know America's baptism? How does America baptize you to be an American?
By asking us to vote, or like maybe, or like is it kind of like them pretending to care about our lives and things like that? No,
because they baptize their own people.
Oh, okay, well then.
How does America baptize their people into being an American, including everyone else to being an American? How do they do it?
Is it by like the people that we listen to and things like that? Like our rappers and our celebrities? And
No,
things
not
like
quite.
that, you know?
I feel like you're on it, but you're not there. Anyone online? How does America baptize? How does America baptize their people into being an American? Don't think of the Christian church yet, but think of how America baptizes other Americans into being an American. Anybody online want to give it a shot? How does America baptize everyone to be an American in America?
Is it by saying that we're all equal?
No, but you're close. Not by not saying all equal, but there is something being said. I want you guys to wipe the Christianity off. And don't think of how in the Bible it says baptize in water. Because there is a way to baptize without water. Okay? Like if you look up the definition of baptize, you're going to get things that refer to religion, right? But another word for baptize is to initiate, right? Another word for baptize, maybe I'll give you guys a hint. Another way to baptize someone is to initiate someone, right? So how does America baptize other Americans to be an American? Alright, give you guys a few more moments and I'll give it to you guys. Alright, want to take another shot in class? Anybody want to give it a shot? How does America, listen, I'm not going to give you guys a hint this time. I want you guys to think. How does America baptize, initiate other Americans how to be an American? We've been doing it for a while now. Alright. This is what we do. Right? We take our hands and we stand up. And guess what? The reason why I asked this question because I said it in class before. We take our hands and we stand up and we put it over our chest like this. And we say, I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic in which we stand, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all. That's what we've done for years. That's how America baptized you into being an American. Not just any black, Hispanic, and Native Indian, but anyone living in America. That was them initiating you to pledge allegiance to their flag, to their country. That was them baptizing you to being an American. You were pledging allegiance. You were making an agreement with them to be one nation under God. But this is what the Lord said for blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. In verse 6. One God and one Father of all. Listen, we can't be a part of America's government and serve our God. Because whose God are we pledging allegiance to? It's not our God. Our God wouldn't be pledging allegiance to that flag under one nation, under God. What God is under this nation? The only God that they serve in this nation is the God that believes to murder blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians any chance they get. To terrorize blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians in any chance that they get. To mass incarcerate blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians any chance that they get. That's the God you serve when you want to be an American. How do Christians baptize you? How do Christians baptize anyone in America? What? Period. How do Christians baptize? How do Christians in the Christian church baptize you? Anyone online and anyone in class?
It's a couple ways that I have in my head.
Okay, what's the couple?
One by actually putting somebody in water.
Okay.
Another way is by them allowing people to by them not following every law that's in the Bible. They literally forget about the Old Testament and they just think about the New Testament.
Okay.
And then another way is them by literally saying that it's okay to be who you are. It's okay to be gay. It's okay to be.
Okay.
Like, there's different ways.
Okay. That all stems from
Christianity.
That stems from the baptism.
Okay.
Because the Christian church baptizes in water, they're not really changing themselves. Like, that's not the baptism we're supposed to be under. Like, that's not the leadership we're supposed to be under. Like, our leaders, like how we rule a nation isn't dipping people in water and expecting them to change. Like, us dipping, like you dipping yourself into water we can't expect, after we dip you in water, we can't expect you to listen to the government body that the Lord set up. We can't expect you to understand law. We can't expect you to understand order. Like, that's the baptism in the Christian church. And the Lord said, one God and Father of all, who is above all, and through all, and in you all. Like, that's what the Lord said. Alright? Let's get Deuteronomy. Should be Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 18. Let's see. Like it. That's another precept. I want Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 14. So like it. Go ahead.
I was going to say that I remember one class that you were talking about how you were talking about the same thing that you were just saying about how the Christian church, like how you were talking about baptism and saying that after they baptize people, nothing changes. Well, I remember in one class you were saying that that's the difference between Israelites in the Christian church, because in Israel we actually want our people to change, but in the Christian church, even after they do service and things like that, people still go out and smoke weed, and they still go out and do things like that. Like you were talking about the whole praying thing, about how they pray to God and ask for things to change, but they still go out and be whores and still go out and do what they want to do.
Because the Christian church doesn't have any law. The Christian church doesn't have any order. Like the church, church is a Greek word that means school. Like that's where the word church comes from. It's a Greek word and it means school. You are supposed, when you go to school, you're supposed to be doing what?
Learning.
And you're supposed to get taught. You're supposed to be learning. What do you learn from that school? Nothing at all.
They don't even read the Bible.
They don't even read the Bible. Now listen. This is why it's important. You have to understand who rules over you and who you give power to be over you. When we allowed the Christian church to be over us, when we allowed the so-called white man, our oppressor, to be over us, it destroyed us. Because they taught us how to be wicked. They taught us how to be filthy and to be disgusting and how to live our life the way we wanted to live life. When we wanted to be homosexuals, they said it's okay. When we wanted to be lesbians, they said it was okay. When we wanted to be thieves, they said it was okay. When we wanted to be murderers, they said it was okay. When we wanted to go into the clinic and abort our babies, they said it was okay.
And it's crazy because they say in the Bible, right? In the Bible, it said that God said that it's supposed to be one man, one woman. They never said that it's supposed to be a man and a woman. They never said a man with a man and a woman with a woman, right? But like now, all of a sudden, Christian church are like, come as you are. Right,
and that's why the Christian church should not rule over blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. We may not realize as a people, but we allowed the Christian church to be our government body. We allowed the Christian church to be our authority. We allowed them to give us law and order, when their law and order has nothing to do with the Bible. They use our law and our order. What I mean by that, they use our book that has the law and has the order that the children of Israel, which are so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, are supposed to have. But they don't do that. So let's get to Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 14. When thou art come unto the land, which the Most High power giveth thee. So when we come into the land, which the Most High giveth us, right? As Israelites, we're supposed to have our own land. Like any other nation and race of people on this earth, they had their own land. They always had a land of them for themselves. They had their own houses, their own homes, their own farms, their own buildings, their own government. Every other nation and race of people had their own government, their own society, their own rules, their own laws, their own regulations, and how they lived their life, and how they wanted their people to live their life. Well, guess what? When the Lord said, when thou art come unto the land which the Most High giveth thee, right? After the Lord telling you that we were supposed to have our own land. We were supposed to have a land of our own. America is not the land that we are supposed to have. So, allow me to elaborate. America is not our land because this land is ruled by another nation of people. This land can't be our land if this land has its own government and their government rules over their people. So this can't be our land. That's why the Lord said that this is the Lord saying that we're supposed to have a land of our own. And shall possess it, meaning to own it. It's supposed to be ours. Is America our land? No. Because if it's our land, then why are we suffering? If this is our land, why are we in poverty? If this was our land, why do we flood the prison systems? If this was our land, Why are we not the majority of the rich? If this was our land, why are we not in charge if this was our land? Why are we not running the government? Why are we not the politicians the way you see in America? If this was our land, it doesn't make sense because we don't possess it. It's not ours. It was once our land that the Lord gave to us to live in. But these devils took it. They ravished it. They raped and they pillaged. That's your Christopher Columbus. Those are your conquistadors. Those are your Puritans. Alright? Those are your Andrew Jacksons and your George Washingtons. Those are the British. Right? Like this is who it is. This is who we're talking about. And it says, and shall dwell therein. Like this is the land that we're supposed to be living in. Because this land is supposed to be ours. And the land that the Lord is referring to is the land of Israel. Like that's supposed to be our land. Like this is that's the land that we're supposed to be dwelling in. And we would be dwelling in peace in that land. We would be in sanctuary in that land. Like that land would be so much, it would be peaceful, it would be wonderful, it would be crime free. Right? It would be awesome. It would be a damn near paradise. We wouldn't have to worry about being terrorized by the police. We wouldn't have to worry about mass incarceration. We have to worry about being murdered by the police department and your FBIs and your CIAs. We wouldn't have to worry about our sons dying in the ghetto. We wouldn't worry about our sons being gangster disciples, Bloods and Crips. We wouldn't have to worry about our daughters being whores and being raped and being sex trafficked. We wouldn't have to worry about this. We wouldn't have to worry about our daughters doing the silhouette challenge. We wouldn't have to worry about our sons tag teaming someone's daughter, right? We have to worry about our sons tag teaming someone's daughter behind the bleachers of a school. We wouldn't have to worry about that. We wouldn't have to worry about saying, let's take turns on someone's daughter and it's the football team. We wouldn't have to worry about that. But because we live in America, we have to worry about that. But if we were in Israel and we were living in our own land, under our own government, under our own laws, under our own order, and having our own rules, and having our own regulations given by God, we wouldn't have to worry about all of that. We wouldn't have to worry about all the pain and the suffering and the misery that blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians go through every single day of their lives in America. We wouldn't have to worry about it. But now we do. I pray you understand. And shall say, like there is something that we're going to say. Like the Lord saying, like there is something that we're going to say as a race of people, as a nation of people when we come into this land. I will set a king over me. Like this is what we're going to say. I will, meaning it's going to happen. Set a king over me. A king is someone in authority. A king is someone that rules. A king is someone that has authority or rulership in a kingdom over a land. Like that's what it says in Israel in the Bible. It didn't say queen. It didn't say a woman's going to rule over Israel. It didn't say the nation of Israel is going to I will set a queen over me. I will set a woman over me. Right? Like we risked our lives to go vote and stand in lines hour after hour after hour to put a woman in charge over blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians because we thought that she was black. And not just anything. We stood in line for hour after hour and risked our lives to vote for a East Indian woman to rule over blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. Now that's sad. Now that is the definition of horrific. I pray you understand. Like as all the nations that are about me. Just like every other nation that's about me. Just like every other nation around me. Every other nation has a king. Like every other nation on the earth has a king. The Africans have kings over them. Like the Russians have kings over them. The Europeans have kings over them. The so-called white man has kings over them. The Chinese have kings over them. Like the Japanese have kings over them. They may go by other names. They may go by other names, but they're kings. They're rulers. They're a power. They're in authority over the earth. They may be called emperors, right? They may be called pharaohs, right? They may be called the Romans were emperors too. They may be called presidents, right? But they're still rulers. They're still someone in authority, right? Just like any other nation of people about us that are around us, they have kings too. They have someone ruling over them too. So why not us? So why shouldn't we have a king? They have a king. Well, we should have a king too. Well, this is what the Lord said in verse 15. Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee. Right? Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee. Meaning in any wise, thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee. Meaning in any wise, right, set him king over thee. Whom the Lord thy God shall choose. So if you're going to set him king over you, it's going to be someone that the Lord chooses. Did it say you choose? No, it said the Lord chooses. Did it say you go out and vote? No, it said the Lord chooses. Did it say you go cast your vote and vote for a Democrat or a Republican or an independent? No, it said the Lord chooses. It says, which the Lord thy God giveth thee. It's like it. It says, whom the Lord thy God shall choose. One from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee. So first, it has to be who the Lord chooses. And then two, guess what? Guess what it says? It says he has to be you. It says among thy brethren. The Lord is talking to the children of Israel in Deuteronomy. We can prove that easy. Don't waste my time. Don't waste my time. I hate my time to be wasted. Do not waste my time. I don't need to, do I really need to go into the scripture and prove to anyone that the children of Israel is who the Lord is talking to in Deuteronomy and throughout the damn Bible? So who are the brethren of the Israelites? Of their Israelites, which are so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. So literally the Lord said that the requirement is, first, I have to choose him. Right? The Lord has to choose him. You're absolutely right, sis. The other tribes. The Lord has to choose him. Not her, but him. Which is a man. Right? And then two, it has to be among thy people, among thy brethren, which are other blacks, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. So Kamala Harris doesn't fit that description. And neither does Joe Biden. Neither did Donald Trump or Mike Pence or whatever his vice president was. None of these people fit the description. But you know who does fit that description? Commanding General Yohana. 13 shield Commanding General Yohana fits that description. And I pray you understand. The Lord raised up Commanding General Yohana to rule over blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians until Christ returns. Alright? You know who fits that description? Christ. Christ fits that description. Because the Lord chose Christ. When the day comes, Christ is supposed to return. And the Lord chose Christ to return to be the king over so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. Because it was evident for him to spring out of Judah. That's a tribe of Israel. He is an Israelite. He is a so-called black, a Negro, right? He is supposed to rule over blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians when he returns. That's who God chose. I'm just giving you examples of who fits the description and who does not fit the description. Thou mayest not. The Lord said, thou mayest not. Like this is an order. Like this is what you're going to do. Thou mayest not. You are not going to do this. Set a stranger over thee. Who is a stranger? A stranger is usually a non-Israelite. That's who a stranger is. A stranger has the same definition of a Gentile, which usually means a non-Israelite. And the Lord said, thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, meaning someone that is not an Israelite, someone that is not your race, someone that is not your nation of people, right? Kamala Harris is a stranger. Most High in Christ, of the nations, that's exactly what a stranger is. Kamala Harris is a stranger, and we set her over us. Joe Biden is a stranger, and we set him over us. Must I go on? I pray you understand. Louis Farrakhan is a stranger, and we set him over us. I pray you understand. It says, thou mayest not. Salakia, I forgot the main one. Salakia, brother, the water. Barack Obama is a stranger, and we set him over us. An African, a Hamite, a proud citizen that claims to be Ethiopian. It's like not Ethiopian, it's like a Kenyan. He said himself, I'm proud to be the first Kenyan president. He didn't say black. He didn't even say African American down there. He wanted to specify that day, I'm proud to be the best Kenyan president. To be the first Kenyan president of America. That's who we set over to be our king. When the Lord said, thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother, which proves that strangers are not our brothers, which usually means non-Israelites, which means other nations of people, other races of people. They are not our brother. Like the East Indians are not our brother like Kamala Harris. These are not our brothers. Them Africans like Barack Obama, that's from Kenya. These are not our brothers. The Nigerians, they're not our brothers. The Egyptians, these are not our brothers. The Algerians, these are not our brothers. These Moroccans, these are not our brothers. The Chinese, these are not our brothers. The Japanese, these are not our brothers. The Muslims, them Arabs, these are not our brothers. The so-called white man, these are not our brothers. the Russians, the Irish, the Swedish, the Polish, the Switzerland, the ones from Belgium. These are not our brothers. Man, these people are not our brothers. And we were never, and we were never supposed to set them king over us, to be a ruler or have a position of authority over us. The Lord never intended it to be that way. The Lord never wanted it to be that way. We were never supposed to make another nation rule over us. We weren't supposed to allow these other races of people rule over us. Now let's get Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 18. Like, we're going to get more of this, man. Let's get Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 18. And it says, Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 18, I will raise them up a prophet. The Lord said, I will raise them up a prophet. Like the leaders of Israel were always prophets. Like King David was a prophet. King Solomon was a prophet. Like the kings of Israel were always prophets. They would always prophesy. The ones that ruled over the nation of Israel, they were always prophets. They were priests and prophets of the Lord. That's why the Lord says we are a nation of priests. That's who we're supposed to be. All the men of the Lord, all the men of our nation were supposed to be priests, are supposed to be prophets. But this prophet, it says, I will raise them up a prophet. This prophet is different. This prophet has a capital P. Not a lowercase p, but a capital P. Meaning there's something important about this prophet that are different among different prophets. This prophet is different. Like there's many prophets of the Lord that are under this one prophet. From among their brethren. The Lord said, I will raise up thee a prophet among their brethren, among other blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. So-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. The Lord said He was going to raise up as a prophet, someone in authority, a leader. Like that's who this prophet is. Like that capital P was supposed to put emphasis on who the Lord is going to raise up over so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. Like this is the prophet. Like unto thee. Like this prophet is going to be just like us. It's going to be unto us just like us. He's going to have woolly hair just like us, or curly hair just like us, or coarse hair just like us. He's going to have them thick noses just like us, them thick lips just like us, them juicy lips just like us, them juicy noses, just whatever how we describe it, just like us. Right? Just like us. He's going to have brown or dark skin just like us, or be light skinned just like us, or like how Ephraim is, a pancake unturned just like us, fair skinned just like us. However it may be, he's going to be just like us. And will put my words in his mouth. Like the Lord is going to put his words in his mouth. Like this is how we know that this is the prophet that the Lord raised up. Because his words, God's words, are in his mouth. And his words are not his words, but are God's words. That's how we know that this is the prophet that the Lord raised up. Every other man that claims to be a prophet doesn't speak the Lord's words. These prophets will tell you it's okay to smoke weed and get high, have sex with children, be homosexual, and be lesbian, These are things that the Lord never said to do. So why are these things, so why are these words coming out of a prophet's mouth claiming to be a prophet of God when the Bible says it would be his words that God gives to him? The Lord says, and will put my words in his mouth. Meaning these words are not of his own, but these words are given by God. Meaning these are God's words. Meaning the words that he says should not contradict the Bible. The words that are in his mouth should not contradict the Bible. The words that are in his mouth should not go against what God said to do. The words that are in his mouth should not go against the law. The words that are in his mouth should not go against Christ. The words that are in his mouth should not go against the prophets that came before him. That's what that's saying, man. And he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him. Meaning anything that the Lord commands this brother, that commands this prophet, right? He shall speak unto them. Who is the them? The children of Israel. Right? It's the children of Israel, which are so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. And the Lord says in verse 19, and it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken unto my words. So it says, whosoever will not hearken. What does it mean, will not hearken? Hearken is old English, old Quaker English for to hear, to listen. Alright, to hear, to listen. So it says, that whosoever will not hearken, meaning to listen, to hear, unto my words. It says, unto my words, meaning unto the Lord's words. What are the words of the Lord? Not to be a child molester, not to be a homosexual, not to be a lesbian, not to commit abortions, not to smoke weed, not to have dreadlocks, not to be a whisperer, not to talk behind a brother or sister's back. Say it to their god dang face. Not to be weak. Not to be emasculated. Not to eat pork. Not to eat shrimp. Not to eat lobster. Not to get shape-ups. Not to shave your beard. Not to worship idols and other gods. Not to be Christian. Not to be Buddhist. Not to be Muslim. Like these are things, these are the words of the Lord. Like I'm a prophet. I'm not the prophet, but I am a prophet. And I speak what the Lord tells me to speak, which is in the Bible, which are his words. And I do not veer away from it. Because if I do, I will utterly be destroyed. Well, what did the Lord say what will happen if you don't hearken to the words of him? Unto my words, which he shall speak in my name, I will require it of him. Does anybody know what it means to require? In this context, what does it mean to require? It says, the Lord says, unto my words, which he shall speak in my name, right? So it says that whosoever will not hearken unto my words, meaning will not listen, which he shall speak in my name. So if you do not listen to the words that were given by this prophet through the Most High, I will require it of him. Right? The Lord is saying, I will demand you. I'm going to demand it of you. I'm going to demand it. I'm going to show you why you should listen to this prophet. I'm going to put you through the worst conditions ever. I'm going to allow your enemies to come past you. So that's what the Lord means by I will require it of him. I'm going to demand it from you. I'm going to show you that you better keep my commandments and you better fall under the authority that I raised up. Like when we say the Isupk is the home of the truth, right? And we're One West, the Isupk is the home of the truth, and the only leader to rule over Israel is Commanding General Yohana, and was raised up by the Lord. You thought we were just talking out the side of our mouth. You thought we were just BSing you. No, because it's in the Bible. You fucking nincompoop. You fucking slack it. You nut. You dang nut. Salaki for cussing. Like you nut. You crazy person. You thought we were just talking out the side of our mouth. No, we weren't. We were telling you the truth. There were brothers that came before him that were raised up to rule over us. It's throughout history that the Lord always chose one man to rule over the nation of Israel. Over the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. It was throughout history. There was always some type of prophet. There was always some type of ruler. There was always some type of authority. We weren't making this up. We weren't trying to just make things up so the Isupk could be popular. No. We don't give a dang about popularity. We care about results. We care about what's going to fix so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. That's what we're worried about. We don't care. We don't care if you think we hate. We don't even care if you think we love. We know what we do, and what we do is follow the Bible. We keep these laws, these statutes, and these commandments. That's what we will do, and that's what we will continue to do. We've been doing it since the beginning of time. We've been doing it since 1969. That's what we've been doing. All right, and I pray you understand. The Lord's going to require of you when you do not follow under the order of the government body that the Lord raised up, which is the Isupk, the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. The Lord's going to require it of you. He is going to show you why you should listen to the prophets of the Lord. He's going to show you why you should be listening to the Isupk. You're wondering why you're homeless right now? You're wondering why you're dying from cancer, and you have high blood pressure, and you're dying from diabetic strokes, and you're burying your son at the age of 16 because of gang violence in the ghetto, and you're wondering why you're burying your 12-year-old son because he was murdered by the police, because he decided to play with a toy gun like every other kid on this earth that plays with toy guns, playing cowboys and Indians and cops and robbers. You're wondering why, right? Because we want to continue to decide not to follow and get under the authority of the Isupk. We'd rather be under the authority of America. We'd rather be under the authority of the Democrats, of the Republicans, of the Independents. We'd rather be under the authority of your Muslim mosque, of your imams. We'd rather be under authority of the Christian church, your Christian pastors. We rather be under your pharaohs in Egyptology, right? Your pharaohs, or whatever the hell they call each other in there, in the conscious community. God forbid I know. I don't know. What do they call themselves? High elders, or kut tongue, kut toot beep beep. This is my ignition, whatever the hell it is. I don't know what the hell they call themselves in there. God forbid I know. But that's who we choose to be authority under, man. And this is who we choose to be our kings, our leaders, our authority, man. When the Lord said we're supposed to have one Lord. In the Black, Hispanic, and Native American community, we have so many goddamn leaders over us. We do not know who's supposed to rule over us. Now, there is supposed to be one leader, one main leader over us, and other government officials under that leader, right, to enforce the law, right? That's how we're supposed to be set up. But at least even in that stance, at least you would know who your leaders are, and that they're going to tell you the same exact thing, and they're going to do the same exact thing. Like, as an officer in the Isupk, man, I'm equivalent to a government official. Like, the priests and the prophets of the Lord are like government officials. We are the ones that enforce the laws given by God, so everyone in the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian community can live by them and live in peace and live in harmony, without the violence, without the murder, without being terrorized, without the whoredom, without the homosexuality, without the lesbianism, without lifestyles that cost us to suffer every damn day of our life. That's who we are equivalent to. We are government officials. That's why we are called officers. That's why there's officers, captains, and generals. And we don't get this from anywhere. This is in the Bible. The officers, the captains, and the generals were in charge of leading the people. Were in charge of enforcing the law, right? Enforcing the law throughout Israel, which is the land of so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. Like, that's our job. That's what we were supposed to do. That's what the Lord required of us to do. Verse 21. I'm going to verse 20. But the prophet, meaning the prophet, like this prophet is a lowercase p this time, right? We're at Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 20. But it says, but the prophet, like this is a lowercase p now. But the prophet, which shall presume to speak a word in my name, like this prophet's that's going to presume to speak the words of the Most High. Like, he's just going to do it on his own accord. He just think, oh well, anyone can become a prophet, so I'm gonna decide to do my own thing, and I'm gonna start teaching the word, the word of the Lord. I'm gonna start teaching the gospel. I'm gonna start teaching these laws, statutes, and commandments without properly being trained to. Which I have not commanded him to speak. The Lord did not command this man to speak. Like, the Lord didn't give this order to this prophet to speak. Like, he was not supposed to be a prophet. He wasn't supposed to be speaking the words of the Lord. Like, this is proof in the Bible. Not everyone is supposed to be a prophet. Not everyone can be a prophet. Right? Yeah, we're a nation of priests, and we're supposed to be like the priest and prophet of the Lord and know the law in that attribute, in that stance. But not everyone's a prophet. Not everyone is supposed to be a government official. There are civilians in every nation. There are civilians in every government. The Lord set that up. That's okay. But our civilians will live by God's law. They just ain't going to do whatever and smoke weed and get high and kill each other and have gangbangs behind the bleachers. Whatever the hell, so goddamn disgusting. We ain't supposed to be allowing our daughters getting passed around like a bag of potato chips on Super Bowl Sunday. That's not how it's supposed to be. You understand? Talking about taste the rainbow. Trying every damn Skittle in the bag. That's not how our daughters are supposed to be. Trying out each rod and each stick to sit on as if it's Skittles out of a bag, what flavor, and wondering how many licks does it get to the center of a Tootsie Pop. That's not how our sisters are supposed to be. That's not how our daughters are supposed to be, man. That's not how the Lord intended our daughters and our sisters and mothers and aunties. The Lord never intended our sisters to be like that, man. It was never supposed to be set up that way. But this is what happens when we have so-called other prophets over us and not commanding General Yohana, who the Lord raised up. This is what happens to our brothers and sisters, man. This is how we end up continuing to be mass incarcerated. Because we are not following the right leaders who the Lord raised up. And it also goes on to say, or that shall speak in the name of other gods. Like, this is what this prophet does. Right? Or that shall speak in the name of other gods. Listen, there are prophets out there that speak in the name of other gods. Your Christian pastor spoke in the name of other gods. Martin Luther King spoke in the name of other gods. Malcolm X spoke in the name of other gods. You understand? Who was that? Zoo York, whatever his name is, Zachariah Zoo York, right? Whatever that brother's name was. He spoke in the words of other gods. Well, what did the Lord do to them? Who did the Lord do to these people, man? I'll tell you, and the Lord says, even that prophet shall die. Martin Luther King did what? Even that prophet shall die. What happened to Malcolm X? Even that prophet shall die. What happened to Zoo York? Even that prophet shall die. Let me tell you something. If you want to be a prophet and you're going to speak in the name of other gods and speak in the name that the Lord did not command you to speak in because he did not raise you up, even that prophet shall die. That's going to be your punishment. You are going to be killed by the Lord because you are not a prophet of God. You are a damn liar. You are a deceiver. You are someone not to be trusted. Martin Luther King was a man that should have never been trusted. You want to learn a little bit about black history? Martin Luther King was a man that should have never been trusted. And because we trusted Martin Luther King, we ended up dead. We ended up getting killed. There were so many casualties in the black, Hispanic, and Native Indian community because of Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King fed sheep to wolves. We were the sheep. And the so-called white man were the wolves. And he fed us to wolves like a pack of Lunchables. Like we were lunch. We were their damn dinner. That's what happened to so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, man. That's what happened to us. To this day, it's 2021. To this day, we're being fed to wolves like sheep, man. To this day, we're being murdered, mass incarcerated. To this day, because of this man's dream. We die every day in the ghetto because of him. We're terrorized in our communities because of him. We were separate. We were segregated. We policed our own neighborhoods. Trayvon Martin was murdered because he was in a neighborhood that wasn't his. It was being patrolled and being secured by another race of people, by another nation of people, and his name was Mark Zimmerman. He was in a neighborhood being patrolled by another nation of people. But if we stayed segregated, like we were supposed to, like the Lord wanted us to, Trayvon Martin would still be alive. Because we wouldn't have murdered Trayvon Martin. The officers, the captains, the generals, we would not have murdered Trayvon Martin. We wouldn't have murdered Ahmaud Arbery. Ahmaud Arbery would have been able to go for a run freely, and his life wouldn't have been taken away from him if we stayed segregated and separate like the Lord wanted us to. If we followed and listened and hearkened unto the right leaders, Ahmaud Arbery would still be alive, jogging freely in his neighborhood, in his community, in his society. Instead, he took 2 bullets in the chest. Not by a cop. It wasn't a cop. It wasn't a cop. You so-called devils love to pull this. Well, why didn't he comply? It was a police officer. Why didn't he comply? Oh, I used to hear that all the time when I was younger. Oh, well, it was his fault. He should have just listened to the man. I heard this dozens and dozens of times. It wasn't until I came into the Isupk and learned how to combat this nonsense, man. It wasn't a cop that killed Ahmaud Arbery. It wasn't a cop that killed Trayvon Martin. It was a goddamn devil. It was our oppressor who did it. It wasn't a cop. It wasn't an FBI agent. It wasn't someone in the CIA with a badge and a gun. It was just a couple of good Samaritans of America, our oppressor, walking along and seen a black man in their neighborhood, and they said, hell no, this won't go. All Trayvon Martin had was Arizona tea and some Skittles, man. I remember that protest going around. Wear a hoodie with some Skittles and Arizona tea, man. I remember that protest when the time I was young. Let me tell you something, man. Trayvon Martin was only 14 years old. He was a teenager, right? Well, I believe he may have been a little older than that, but he was a teenager. He wasn't a grown man yet. Right? But Mark Zimmerman was. And guess what, man? He didn't have a weapon on him. Trayvon Martin didn't have a weapon. He wasn't resisting arrest. He wasn't running away from the police. He wasn't doing any of that. He was just in a white neighborhood. That's why he was murdered. Because he was black, he was known to be what? Suspicious. That's all. That's all it was. This is all because of Martin Luther King. Because of his dream that he had. His dream, he said this himself, his dream had many counts of becoming a nightmare. And those counts that he thought that was becoming a nightmare is my nightmare. I'm living his nightmare. Every black, Hispanic, and Native Indian in America is living the nightmare that Martin Luther King spoke about in his speeches. We're living it every day of our lives to this day. We're living it. And it's a shame that we are. It's a cotton picking shame, man. It's a cotton picking shame. Man. 9 o'clock. Getting close to time, man. We'll go ahead and get these announcements, man. Isupk security announcements. We are the Isupk. Started at a 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General Yohana. Rule for new brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. Numbers 18:21, Malachi 3 verse 8 through 10. Isupk means 10th in the Hebrew. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you. Priest fund. It's like a priest fund. Free will offering for priests, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like. Upcoming Holy Convocation, the Feast of Purim, is February 24th to the 25th. It's about the sister Esther. Alright? If you want to learn the example of a true woman of God is like, come to class that day, man. It's like I said, it's not Big Mama. It's not the mother of your church. It's not your evangelist. Alright? It's not your woman Christian pastor. It's not your woman minister. It's not your grandmama. Understand when them big ass, it's like them big giant hats and stuff. It's none of them. Them big giant hats and stuff. It's not that. It's not that. Passover. The next holy convocation is Passover. Passover, April 24th, Houston, Texas. All right, April 24th, Houston, Texas, man. At the BH Ranch. Do not forget, man. It's gonna be horseback riding, ATV riding, man. We're gonna be fishing, horseback riding. We're gonna have some lamb, some unleavened bread. Get your garments, get your dresses, man. Do not miss out on the Lord's 52nd Passover, man. It's going to be a beautiful time, man. Do not forget, man. Do not forget. Do not forget. Please do not forget. Pay your Passover fees as soon as you can. Please get them in. You do not want to miss this time. And with that, I say Amen, which means to stand. Sar Penyah HaKadam, which means turn and face the east. The Lord's Prayer in the Hebrew. In the last one, Kodash, Abano, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Hayah, Shemka, Yahweh, Malakavka, Daba'ah, Batazaka, Hayah, Aisha, Barataza, Kawa, Hayah, Bashemayim, the thunder Noah, will come, Yawam, Wasalak Noah, Kabawak Noah, Kasalak Noah, Kabawak Yanawa, Wala'ah, Daba'ah Yanawa, Manasayawan, above, Hawashai Noah, Mayan, Rai, Kaya, Laka, Hamalakwa, Waha'ala, Wahatapara. God, La, I will love you. It's like it. La, I will love you. Yeah, I will love you. Amen.
Amen.
In the English, our Father,
Our Father,
which art in heaven,
art in heaven,
hallowed be thy name.
hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come.
Kingdom come.
Thy will be
Thy
done
will be done
in earth
in earth
as it is in
as
heaven.
it is in heaven.
Give us this day
Give us this day
our daily
our
bread,
daily bread.
and forgive us our debts
Forgive us our
as
debts.
we forgive our
We
debtors.
forgive our
And
debtors.
lead us not
And lead us not
into temptation,
into temptation,
but deliver us
but deliver us
from evil.
from evil.
For thine is the kingdom,
For thine is the kingdom,
and the power,
and the power,
and the glory,
and the glory,
forever.
forever.
So be it.
So be it.
The prayer of the curses. Blessed are you, Yahweh,
Blessed be you, Yahweh,
King of heaven and earth,
King of heaven and earth,
in all things living.
all things living.
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
in the name of Yahweh
in
Shai,
the name of Yahweh Shai.
listen to us now,
Listen to us now.
right now.
Right now.
Send evils and curses,
Evils and curses,
and punishment and destruction
punishment and destruction
to the heathen
to the heathen
that speak against us,
speak against
thy
us,
prophets,
thy prophets,
the teachers,
the teachers,
the princes,
the princes,
the priests,
the priests,
the Israelite brothers,
Israelite brothers,
and the school.
and the school.
Send evils and curses,
Evils and curses,
and punishment and destruction
punishment and destruction
to the heathen,
to the heathen,
and shake loose
and shake
the
loose
treasure of the rich of Israel
treasures of the rich of Israel.
that refuse to give to the school.
Refuse to get to the school.
Force their riches
Force the
to
riches
enter into thy sanctuary.
into thy sanctuary.
Send evils and curses,
Evils and curses,
and punishment and destruction
punishment and destruction
to the Edomites,
to the Edomites,
and the nations,
the nations,
and the drug dealers,
the drug
the
dealers,
court system,
the court system,
the prison system,
prison system,
Planned Parenthood,
Planned Parenthood,
all the governments of our enemies,
all the governments are enemies,
Amalek, synagogue, and
the
armies,
Malak synagogues,
the Roman Catholic Church,
the Roman Catholic
the
Church,
Pope,
the Pope,
Egyptology, Aryan Nation,
Aryan Nation,
the lesbian movement,
lesbian movement,
spies,
spies,
workers of witchcraft,
workers of
master
witchcraft,
space program,
master space program,
Army, Navy,
Navy,
Air Force,
Air Force,
Marines,
Marines,
Wall Street,
Wall Street,
open up the internet,
open up the internet,
in the airways,
and the airways,
the cable access channels,
cable access,
and the radio
and
channels.
the radio channel.
Convict the spirit
Convict the
of
spirit
any of our people
of any of thy people
that seek to stop us
that seek to stop
and bring
us,
swift destruction
bring swift
to
destruction
all the heathen
to all the
that
heathen
stand in the way
that stand in the way,
of trying to stop us
trying to stop
from
us
broadcasting your words
broadcasting your word
throughout the planet Earth.
throughout the planet Earth.
Let loose all the plagues.
Loose all the
Let
plagues.
loose all the plagues.
All the plagues.
Let loose all the
All
plagues.
the plagues.
Cause them to go to and fro
Cause them to go to and fro
through the earth
through the earth
and consume them.
and consume
Let the
them.
plagues
Let the plague
shake the house of the thief
shake the house of the thief
and the murderer.
and the murderer.
Let Yahweh
Let Yahweh shine.
Michael and Gabriel
Michael
come
Gabriel
down with the flying saucers
down with the flying
and
sword
punish all the heathens
and punish all the
that
heathen
come up against us
that come up against
as we
us.
speak that
As
word.
we speak that word,
Cause it to be known by all.
cause it to be known by all.
That is the angels that have done it.
That is the angels that have done it.
Cause it to be spread
Cause it to be
through the
spread
media
through the media
throughout the whole world.
throughout the whole world.
Cause them to shake at that coming.
Cause it to shake as they coming.
In the name of Yahweh
In
Shai,
the name of Yahweh Shai,
thank you always.
thank you always,
So be it.
so be it.
Sar, which means a turn. Men of Israel, we're going to give a courteous salute to the brothers. Men of Israel, Amayu Shabbat, Amayu, Barak, Yahweh Ba Hashem, Yahweh Shah, Brother Thumb, Yahweh Batah, Sar, Sarla Awakin. We can turn to the sisters. Men of, we're going to give a courteous salute to the sisters. Men of Israel, Amayu Shabbat, Amayu, Barak, Yahweh Shema ala Thun Ba Hashem Yahweh Shah.
Yahweh Shemar ala Thumb by Hashem Yahweh Shai.
Yahweh Matah. With that, class dismissed.